welcome to Criminologist et al. Convene. I am Jen, and this is the new series and the new initiative put forth by us, the CrimiTalk. So basically, we're just going to be having really quick and short conversations, brief conversations with people that are doing amazing work within the criminology, criminal justice, social sciences, et al. Background. So today we are joined by Angela Kirwin, who is the author of Criminal, How Our Prisons Are Failing Us All. And that is due to be, well, maybe by the time this comes out, it will already be out. So yes, her newly published book, newly released book even. And she's here to talk about all things to do with the book and the release. So just got a couple questions I'll throw at her, and hopefully we can get something fruitful from it. So right, I'll start with first question being, how did you get involved in authoring about prison specifically?
Okay, so the book Criminal tells the stories of people I met whilst working inside prisons, mainly in England. So I am from a social care background. I started working in prisons after this kind of, I always say this, like slippery slope into prisons, from starting in the social care sector as a young carer for my grandma and realizing that if people don't have advocates for them within the social care system, they can often really miss out on support they need. And this kind of just slipped into working with young people, not in education, employment and training. And I loved it, love working with people. And my background is I eventually trained in social work and started working with what we deemed then as complex and chaotic clients. So it's not a great title,
No,
but that was kind of the background in the community, working with complex and chaotic clients. And I found that if I waited till the day someone was released to start organising their housing, start organising their benefits, their medication, it was impossible. So I started to do in-reach work into prisons. And it was then that I realised I wanted to go behind the walls. I thought that getting to people whilst they were in prison was a way of tackling some of the really big issues going on for them before release into the community. So yeah, I did that. I worked in a few different prisons, and I left the prison system in the end of 2016. So this was like off the back of the real staffing shortages where like 30% of the staff were made redundant, and as Spice was just taking over the wings, and I felt like I couldn't do my job anymore. So I started writing about it. Just, I think I love writing. I've always written. And for me, it was this just processing what I'd experienced in prison, processing what was happening and how I could still have an impact on this system and try and make a positive change without working within it anymore. And that led to the book. And here we are. And I think COVID's made things a little bit slower than perhaps they would have been. But yes, finally release date on the 26th of May. And I really hope that this book can start real conversations about what we need to do in our prison sector now.
Yeah. Wow, very powerful, and it's nice to hear that you've got a background story as well. It wasn't just, I woke up today and I decided to write a book. So that's quite empowering, because I do think there's a lot of people out there that have stories to tell. And from what you've explained, it was quite cathartic in you writing it. Yeah. So it just brings me into my second question about, I know you've already touched on very, very, very briefly about it, the book, bringing out people's experiences of prison. But is there any chance you could give us a bit more of a summary about what we could expect if we were to read it, or when we read it even?
Absolutely. I've always been very bad at this, like, elevator pitch of what the book is. So Criminal is broken down into different chapters covering a different person I worked with within the criminal justice system. And each of those people's stories then highlights like one of the real issues we have within the system. And I try and broaden out that individual's experience to show what's going on in the wider world. So I think the easiest way is to kind of give you examples. So chapters on a prisoner who keeps coming in and out and keeps getting released homeless. So I want to tell you about this individual person, and then I want to show you how that's going on this mass scale within our systems. I have a chapter about when I went and worked in America. I did research on what the Americans are doing. And this leads into me really looking at like institutional racism within the system and how stop and search laws impact who ends up in prison, and impacts how people are treated within the system. So I'm really trying to tackle these big social meaty issues whilst giving each story a real human face. Yeah, so I also realized that I don't just want this to be a book that is just saying how terrible everything is. I think we can get like that in this system sometimes. And what I want to do is show that there are different things we can be doing. There are things different countries are doing. There is amazing pockets of work going on in places that we could be doing more of. So I really finish up with this like call to action of this is what we can do and we can make this better. It's not a lost cause. We should be trying to improve the system.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I echo that view, and it's nice to know that there are themes, like structural themes, that are being addressed: recidivism, institutional racism, etc. So it's nice to hear that. I'm actually quite excited to read it in its entirety, to have the physical book in my hand. But I just wanted to ask, like, you can talk about the book, you can talk about your personal experience if you'd like, but what advice would you give to any individual that is intending to go on, following your career footsteps, or, maybe take some elements of your career that you've explained already? What advice would you give them?
I really thought about this one. And I think we all have that imposter syndrome where I'm like, oh, I don't know. But so my actual advice is working in any capacity in the criminal justice system is extremely tough. It's not for the faint-hearted. And I really found the most difficult part of the work I've done wasn't the people. It's not working with violent people, aggressive people. It's working within a system that sometimes is very flawed and limits your ability to have a positive impact. However, I think there is the real capacity to make change from the inside. And I would suggest things like what you guys are doing, creating a network of people. You need to like find your tribe within that system, because there are so many people doing an incredible job who are working tirelessly to make the world a better place. And sometimes if you're getting disheartened and dispirited by what's going on, to have this network of other people, I think is absolutely vital. Yeah, so find your tribe, find people who like hold that positivity. So that's advice number one. However, my second piece of advice, so I don't think I didn't have an idea that I wanted to be a published writer. And I don't think I even had an idea that I wanted to be a social worker when I started this journey. I think I found something I was passionate about, which was people, social justice, and politics really as well. And I just kept saying yes to opportunities that were available to me. And they came in forms that I never expected really. So I ended up applying for and getting a research fellowship to travel to Norway and America to research prisons. And that was with the Winston Churchill Memorial Trust. And I did that because I was looking for funding opportunities for some of the guys in prison I was working with actually. And I saw it and I thought, well, this looks good. I'm going to go for this and try it. And it just opened so many doors. So it sounds really like cliched to say it, but if you're passionate about the subject, say yes to every opportunity that's available.
Yeah.
I ended up not being a statutory social worker, even though I had the training for it, but I managed to carve out a job in the sector that I absolutely loved. So yeah, say yes to the opportunities, go and find opportunities and find your place within this system, because it doesn't necessarily just have to be these specific job titles that you often see advertised. You can make it for yourself.
Brilliant. I definitely think that's a sound piece of advice, and that's something I'm learning myself on my kind of academic journey as well. But yeah, thank you for that. That's a great sound piece of advice. And just a final question before we close up. How can we contact you? Where can we find you? Where can our followers find you? Best point of contact, please.
So I have a website, which is just angelakirwin.com. And I'm posting little blog posts on there quite often. You can message me on there. I love it when people email me telling me they've read the book, what they think of it. So my email is just angelakirwinuk@gmail.com. And then I think the one, I didn't realize how popular Twitter was, but yeah, I'm on Twitter as, am I Angela Kirwin or Angela Kirwin UK? Let me just check for you and find out. Oh, I should know this off by heart, shouldn't I, by now? So on Twitter, Angela Kirwin UK as well. And I'm on there every day. Please feel free to message me. I've found just getting this book out there has expanded my network of people I know. And I've really, when I talked about finding your tribe, I think I've like really reconnected with some incredibly positive people because of the book. So yeah, link up with me, message me. It would be lovely to hear from you all.
Definitely. And I follow suit. I don't know if I follow you on my personal account, but I will be. So apologies if I'm not.
No.
That's terrible. But yeah, so 26th of May, everybody, Angela Kirwin's book, Criminal, How Our Prisons Are Failing Us All, is available. I think, like I said, by the time you guys watch this, I would have already been to the book launch, which as well, it's very exciting. So yeah, I just want to say thank you for taking the time out to sit with us for our very first Criminologist et al. Convene, and good luck.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Cheers.